surgery as the controversy.
What do you think then? Saturday's royal wedding was a huge success, remarkable considering the jinxes and negative publicity that led up to it. The thing that was loveliest to watch was the obvious happiness of the bride and groom.
Charles, have you resolved to be faithful to your wife, forsaking all others so long as you both shall live?
That is my resolve, with the help of God.
Camilla, have you resolved to be faithful to your husband, forsaking all others so long as you both shall live?
That is my resolve, with the help of God.
She looked lovely, don't you think? Anyway, one of the select few who were given a privileged position inside the gates of Windsor Castle is Andrew Broughton, a massive fan of the new Duchess of Cornwall since he started writing to Camilla 10 years ago. She personally invited him to the wedding. Also joining us, the Daily Mirror's Sue Carroll and Quentin Letts from the Mail. But Andrew, you first. You had a good time, I'm sure you did.
Yes, wonderful, Judy.
And just tell us the history of your, before we get to the little bit of film you shot for us, tell us the history of your relationship with Camilla. How did it start?
It started 10 years ago when I decided to write to her and put over my views that it wasn't all negative, and I wanted to put over a more positive side to her and say that not everybody hated her.
But you never met her.
Was this after the bread roll throwing incident in the supermarket? You know, she was being
there was
berated and shouted at, and people were literally throwing things at her.
Yes, there was that kind of thing. Then the press in general were very, very negative. There was not a nice thing being said about her. And
so you just felt sorry for her on a human level? You just thought,
yes, absolutely.
We've got the reply that you wrote her in February 1995. We've got a reply here. Dear Mr. Broughton, thank you very much for your kind letter. It makes all the difference during these difficult times to receive letters from thoughtful people like yourself. It restores my faith in humanity. And thus, sincerely, Camilla Parker Bowles, and thus began a correspondence. How often do you write to her?
Sort of every 2 or 3 weeks, or maybe every month or so, and birthdays, Christmas, and I send things like Thornton's chocolates, which come from Derbyshire, where I am, and they seem to go down very well with it.
Were you surprised to get this then? This is the invitation to the wedding?
Definitely, yes. It came right out of the blue. It was really a prized possession. I had no inkling that was coming at all.
Well, let's look at the... We gave you a camera. We said, for heaven's sake, don't spoil your day.
Yes.
You know, you don't worry more about filming. So you didn't get very much. But what you got was very sweet, actually. Let's have a look.
This was your position. This is where you were standing.
Yes.
See?
Good spot.
And she came across, didn't she?
She did, yes.
And you actually managed to exchange a word with her.
Yes, I did.
Let's have a quick look.
I don't want to put along.
Well, don't stop writing.
I won't put it up. Thank you.
Hello.
They came really close. That was your sister holding the camera at that
It
time.
was, it's Sue.
Yeah.
So did she recognise you? Did she know who you were? Or did you have to introduce yourself?
I just said my name. It just drawing her attention as she came along the line, so I just shouted Camilla. I couldn't think of anything else. And she looked up immediately, looked a bit bewildered.
And what did you think of the way she was dressed?
I think she was
She
fantastic.
looked pretty good, didn't she?
Very impressive.
Okay, well, let's bring Sue and Quentin in. Sue, you're a little bit negative, I thought, in today's Daily Mirror. You said that, you know, she may have won over the royals and she may have done this, but she's got a long way to go with the British public.
There was a slight amount of dissent from me, but not too much. Because she did look lovely, I have to say. She looked very regal.
You guys are amazing. As somebody said yesterday, the British media can turn on a dime.
Well,
I mean, all the
I
negative
haven't
publicity.
exactly turned.
No, I know. I wasn't. No, Judy did qualify, but generally speaking,
oh, the press. She's
the press has
had
completely
so
done a
much coverage.
U-turn, haven't
This
they?
is from a man who, you know, swears that he hates the press. I mean, where would he have been without all of that coverage this weekend and today?
Do you think that are we seeing the press then, Quentin, as being a big soppy old Labrador?
I certainly hope so. I think she's been horribly ill-used and wrongly besmirched by all sorts of newspapers in the last few weeks, and it's great that at last some of them are perhaps giving her a fairer toss of the coin. She's a great old trout. She's a great old British trout, and we should be proud of her.
What?
And I think she's got a lot going for her, because you can see from those photographs she just loves the man. I mean, the way she put her hand on his was very touching in every sense, I thought.
I have to be honest, and I wrote about this in our column. I said I was quite, not cynical about it, but I was bored with it, and I didn't think it was going to mean anything. And we had to be abroad on the weekend on business, so we had to watch it on satellite a bit later. I was really touched.
Well, you wouldn't watch it. You went out and sunbathed. I sat there all by myself
But the
watching
thing about
it.
it-
And then when I came in later, I wished I had, because it was very.
She's not a glamour-puss model,
No.
nor should she be at her age. And she's a great example, perhaps, to women of a slightly older age.
Well,
And
that's what I
she's
think.
saying that we can be glamorous too, we can be elegant, and we can have another chance.
I actually think she'll do very well with women, Sue, don't you think? Because, all right, everybody loved Princess Diana, but Princess Diana was impossibly beautiful. I mean, she
You
was
couldn't
like-
emulate Diana.
No, you couldn't.
Whereas
But
she's a
actually,
bit
you
of a
can
style
relate
icon,
to someone
very
like
older
Camilla.
woman.
Yeah,
Yes,
absolutely.
very much so.
And I think we probably might quite warm
Well,
to
women
her.
will look out to see what she's wearing and certainly take a lot of notice of her. But you've got to remember that nobody actually knows her yet, you know.
Yeah.
And I just, when you take the soft focus off this wedding and you actually get rid of a bit of the sentiment, what you've got here is a quite formidable woman. She and Charles are an incredible force to be reckoned with. Diana could barely cope with it. The Queen tried to resist it but couldn't. The church finally bowed to it.
But I don't know, she was very nervous, wasn't she? I mean, she was allegedly almost on the verge of caving in just before.
Well,
the wedding.
she nearly
and her
fainted
foot was
after.
tapping up and down
Yeah.
like a
Well,
over metronome.
she knew the whole, world was watching her. All eyes were upon her. But of course, nobody knows what she's like. So, it was
Somebody, I think it was in Evening Standard tonight, said that she could well turn out to be rather like the Queen Mother was with. Oh, you think the same?
My little theory. My
Go on,
theory
you
is that the way that the Queen Mother came in to the royal family, she wasn't herself a princess at the time. She brought in some good country common sense, and I think Camilla Parker Bowles is going to do that. And also, she's got the same look as the Queen Mother, without wishing to over push her. But she's got a certain inner calm, I think, that is rather touching.
And do you think that the Prince has inherited the kind of that slightly silly side and skittishness of his grandfather, which the Queen Mother toned down and brought down?
Well, he's like a slightly overbred greyhound, perhaps, in some senses, highly intellectual, and wants to view everything and make sense of it. And she's going to be alongside him, so saying, "Calm down, dear. It's only a life." Just like the Queen Mother.
Despite all the hostile predictions about the Queen's reaction, William and Harry's reaction, they all seem perfectly happy to me.
Well, they do seem to like her enormously, and probably that's because they've had a long time to get to know her. They've had 6 years to know her and accept her. What you've got to remember is the public have got no idea about what this woman is like.
So just say, Andrew, as you sort of wrote to her out of the blue. What is it about her that you like, that you warm to?
I like she looks like an authoritative person, but also a very caring person. I think the image didn't maybe come over before, but on Saturday we saw people in wheelchairs in front of us, and she come there, she looked so caring that the people who have a blanket, she said, "I'm so sorry you've had to wait so long for me." And I think she's really
good. I don't just mean to accuse Fleet Street of being fickle. I accuse myself of that in the same way. I mean, I was quite disinterested in it, and I wasn't particularly pro-Camilla all the time. But my views, in the most sentimental of ways, were changed by the events of Saturday.
And you know what it is?
What is it?
Because she's finally been given dignity. She is no longer the Scarlet Woman.
Yes, she also, though, she does have a slightly foxy glint. Sounds like a sort of mince, doesn't it? But she does. There's something in there. She's got a real little twinkle, I think.
Yes. But she's like a William Judd says, yes.
Well, no, she's got a bit more to her. She looks like a more interesting person, dare I say it, than poor old Diana.
And all the mockery, this I did not take part in, but all the mockery of her appearance and her looks and stuff, and the cartoons and the look-alike shots of her in her underwear and all the rest of it. Actually, she confounded all that at the weekend, didn't she, in the way she dressed and the way she carried herself. You're right, she looked terrific.
Yeah, she looked pretty good, and actually we also do quite like a frump. If she's going at her moments off, why can't she just be a bit frumpy and just be a loving wife to a man who needs one?
Well, Well, it's certainly true that, you know, nobody ever expected the Queen to be a fashion icon, did they? And she never has been. She's deeply loved. One last question to you. Would you like to see her as Queen?
Definitely. I've told her that as well in letters.
And do you think she's got what it takes?
Definitely, yes, I think she will. I think she will be the next Queen. As she is the Princess of Wales now, I think she will be a good Queen.
Sue?
I think she will be Queen, but I think she'll be regarded with some indifference, and I think that's what is really worrying for the monarchy.
Mm.
I wouldn't fuss about calling her Queen Camilla. Let's just call her Camilla. Just call her by her Christian name and get on with it.
Well, listen, we'd really like to take the first straw poll to see if public opinion on Camilla has been softened, if it's shifting, because of Saturday's very jolly nuptials. We're not asking the big question, like, do you think she should be Queen? We'll keep it simple. Do you feel more positive towards her than you did before she and Charles got married? In other words, do you like her a bit more?
If you do, call 0901 385 4441. 0901 385 4441. But if the weekend's wedding has done absolutely nothing to improve your opinion of Camilla, the number is 0901 385 4442. That's 42 at the end. It's just the last digit changing. And if you're watching on digital television, you can vote interactively. Just press the red button on your remote now, follow the instructions, and we'll tell you the results later in the show.
I have to say, that priest who turned up, Father what's his name, who turned up and, you know, waving his finger and saying that he was there to sort of...
Paul Williamson.
Yeah, I mean, he's every right to make his point.
He's full of Christian goodwill.
Didn't he?
Yeah,
Absolutely. I wouldn't want him as mine.
No misery goat.
I wasn't. I was miserable.
Can we have a poll on him?
Yeah, but he had his right to do it, but to do it on the day. I mean, how mean-spirited.
I think he may have been interested in publicity. You
Yes.
never know.
He may have just thought he was sticking by his principles. Perhaps he felt that was the right thing
Yeah,
to do.
there are days when you kind of let them go by, don't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, the hugely popular property show.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'm so sorry. Thank you very much.
Really nice.
Forgetting the manners. Right, the hugely successful